My name's Ian. I'm an ex-local government officer, and I'm not the only one in the room, and I'm going to talk about commissioning. When I was writing this on the train coming up, I was thinking, oh man, I always get up talking about commissioning and nobody's going to be interested. And then I kind of went back to, in my old role, I used to do all of this stuff. I used to do investment and service level agreements and all of that around the voluntary and community sector. And I just thought, actually, you are going to be interested. And then that's all I've heard so far this morning is commissioning. So let's see if I can just frame this in a way which is helpful or might resonate, given that I knew that I was doing things that weren't most effective in the past. So this is therapy for me too. Just very, very quickly, I've only got a few moments, but put your hand up if you are in an area where your local authority or other public sector funders are really rethinking the way that they're putting funding into the local voluntary and community sector. Awesome. I'm really pleased to see that, and I really didn't know whether there would be one hand in the room or not. So my plea, which I will make at the start and primarily because I might forget at the end, is I'd really like to hear what that's looking like. Because I think a number of us are thinking about how we might tease out what's working and spread it. So what I'm going to do is say, for those areas that aren't doing that, then why not? Why are we not coming up with new and innovative ways of doing this stuff? Why are we persisting with a broken system, a broken way of doing things? And I'm going to give you two thoughts on why that might be, a couple of ideas as to what we might do differently. So we're stuck with this deficit model, clearly, whereby we identify a community or a cohort of people or a part of the population that have got something that we perceive to be lacking in terms of needs or in terms of aspirations or whatever else it might be, and then we specify it and we put it out and we want people to apply, and we go through all of that competitive process. But really that's a massive waste of everybody's time and effort, I would argue, because you guys working on the ground already know this stuff. So what I'm talking about is how we can rebalance the conversation, and I've heard that already this morning. Adam Kahani's written a brilliant book you can get hold of called Collaborating with the Enemy, and in it he describes a whole load of really insightful perspectives. One of them he calls the sort of linear fallacy, this three-step process by which you figure out the problem. He says smart people figure out the problem, think about the solution, then they get that signed off by their superiors and budget holders, and then they push it down to their teams to implement. And when stuff doesn't work as we think it should, it's always perceived to be a failure of implementation and execution, not the fact that the world's moved on in the time it's taken us to sort of clunk our way through that linear process. So why is that? Well, I think there's a couple of things I'm going to share with you. One is the distinction between complicated and complex. Many of you will be familiar with this, so I won't dwell on it, but if we're talking about complicated problems, we're talking about things like Crossrail. It's hugely complicated, but it is solvable. There is an answer out there. The same with a broken bone. You know, you can go into hospital and that is a fixable proposition. And that's okay. You can buy that. You can buy those solutions. But most of us are working in spaces where we're dealing with obesity, or we're dealing with domestic violence or homelessness, issues that are complex. And in complex situations with complex problems, there's no clear cause and effect. There isn't a solution out there to be found and implemented and then scaled, a la the Silicon Valley model. So we need different ways of doing this. We need to actually think about how we go on a journey towards understanding the problem that we're looking at. And in a complex system, you can't be held accountable for outcomes. And I was guilty of this back in the day. You want to invest in reducing levels of obesity, you put money into certain organisations, and then lo and behold, obesity levels don't change. So why is that? We need to rethink the way that we're working collaboratively on these problems. So what might that look like? We're working at the RSA on a model of change which we call Think Like a System, Act Like an Entrepreneur. It sounds a little bit clunky, but the Think Like a System bit is really understanding a complex problem in its wider systemic context. Who are the actors in the organisations? What are the factors that come to bear on obesity or domestic violence or community rehabilitation or whatever else it might be? How do we start to think about who's involved and how might we start to mobilise them to figure out who knows which bit of the jigsaw? The next step from that then is to think about how we go on a journey together. Because in a complex system, all you can do is intervene, seek feedback, learn from that feedback, and take another step forwards. So how, and that's not something you can commission for, that's not something that you can pay as a public sector funder an organisation to go and do. That's a journey that everybody in the system has to go on together, and that's a difficult journey, and it's a shift in the way we think about investing in understanding problems and moving towards potential impact. And that takes long-term trust and commitment, and I would argue that that commitment isn't just words or money or action, but it's a combination of all of those things, and it's an understanding that you're in this for the long run. I'm out of time, so I'm going to stop talking there. I'm really keen to continue this conversation with folks in the room, and if you follow me on Twitter, you'll be able to find loads of stuff that I've written or published about this. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paul.